getting chiller by the minute.
I was telling him, I was like, dude, I saw you standing at the Adrian Linker concert, and I bet anyone like was like, oh wait, that's so weird. Like, I recognize that guy, but he seems way more chill than the guy who I think he is. So he must not be the same guy. Excuse me, do you play? Oh, that's so weird. Like, I just thought that's weird. Like the guy I remember just like wasn't as chill. So that's what I was saying.
I was there when you told me at Tila's.
Oh. Well, I said it better before that. Oh my
Oh, God.
God.
Okay.
Josh, I just feel like I'm tethered to you. Can you come on the podcast? I was walking the other day and someone who I met like really briefly once with my friend like looked at me in the eyes and I was just gonna be like hi in passing and he like goes to say hi and then he like explodes on me telling me that he's seen the podcast, he saw our faces on Twitter,
Ew.
and I was like, was it about Liam? And he was like, no, 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 it was like about music journalism. I didn't know you did all this stuff. I gotta send you my music. I'm gonna send you my music.
Wait, who was it? Who was the guy?
It's the guy with the dog.
Dude, one time I got high and I started thinking about men with dogs and how every time a man owns a dog, it's just a ploy to have sex with women and make them
Yeah.
think that they're innocent because they have a dog. Cats are like worse though. Because dogs, at least it's like, okay, whatever,
As
but
a cat.
worse. Yeah, it's so you can have sex with him.
Well, you think I feel like cats know when people are bad though.
No, no, because they trick them. I just wish I was meeting his parents for Thanksgiving this year.
Oh my God. Okay, can we stop? Because like he's become some people who we joke about too much that they become unreal in my head and it's actually bad. And the thing I was reading on Instagram was really interesting about it because it was talking about tethering yourself to people. It kind of unpacked the way that we like frequent people's profiles because I feel like everyone does that to someone who they're just like curious about.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. If you don't do it, maybe you're like crazy. But like
Well,
I feel
the
like I have a few people who I do that with.
Yeah, the one thing in it was super interesting about how when you do it, you're not doing it because you wonder what they're up to. It's what you wonder what you could be doing at this moment and almost this alternate life that you could be living.
It was
Yeah.
bugging.
And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
How I forget what it said. It's like a reflection or a tarot card reading or something.
Gabi Abrao, I think. I also want to talk about this in a completely like different episode about like the like new-ish, or at least like to my knowledge, I like only just learned about like a lot of these like random creators who are very internet aware and are like making art about the internet and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And I think it's really cool. Like, what's the one girl's name? Do you know what I'm talking about? The one who had my
Yeah.
man who had an
Yeah.
exhibit at the Whitney Museum, I think, or
Was
then
it at the Whitney?
I
Might
forget.
it might
It
be.
was one of the New York museums and had a really cool exhibit where it was like she like codes and stuff. But yeah, that's like a whole other thing. It's really interesting because it's crazy because you think you run like the world runs out of influencers, but then you find like a new friend group of people who are just like all doing cool things and it's interesting. But anyways, Gabby, she wrote this thing. Should I read this? I think it's interesting.
Yeah, read it.
Okay. She said, something that resonates on Patreon a lot is the concept of tethers. A tether is someone who you attach yourself to and check up on daily. It can be one of your partner's exes, a career competitor, an influencer. It often feels secretive and intense, and it isn't always jealousy as much as a hunt for answers in this person's social media or gossip. They represent unknowns about your relationship, your career, your story, your value. You think you're looking at them, but what you are really seeking is information and clues like a tarot card on yourself and your place in the world.
I thought that the last part was really interesting, like searching for clues, because yeah, I feel like I don't know,
It's
but
just like
also
figuring out a bunch of things about like one person's life. And I think in the same way we do with celebrities, like seeing how someone like is living their life is like really just informing your experience on the world.
yeah. I also thought that it was really interesting when it was talking about dealing with jealousy later on in the post, because I think jealousy is just such an interesting emotion
Yeah.
in general, and it's something that I've struggled with a lot. Like I feel like out of every emotion on the spectrum, I honestly probably have felt jealous more than any other emotion growing up because
That's
I
so
think
interesting, yeah.
jealousy just comes up even like every time you're looking on someone's Instagram. That's essentially you being jealous of what that person has. Not all the time, but at least for me, like I'm speaking from my personal point of view. That's what it is a lot of the times when I'm looking at someone's profile and taking jealousy and looking at it through the lens of, okay, I'm like not jealous of this person for having this thing that I want, but instead, this person having this thing I want is just proof that this thing exists. And if this thing exists, and that means that I can get it. And if this other person is able to get it, then I can get it because we're all just human. And it talks about that later on in the post, but I thought that that was really interesting also.
Yeah, no, and how people are just like mirrors of you. That's really interesting. I really like the idea that is like proof that you can like do something as well, but also that like that thing might not even be what you think it is because it's just like being presented in this other person, and for that reason it's making it feel unreal. And
Mhm.
also, um, yeah, the one part about like that really sat with me too was like referring to those people as making them your authority or making them your masters. When you get into those compulsive patterns, you've made that your authority and it becomes a very unreliable authority. Am I really about to say that my authority right now is a girl on my phone with some pictures? That doesn't sound right. Be sensitive about who your masters are, even if they're just visitors. And I thought that was so interesting. I feel like I think about that and I think about how I'll like indulge looking at people online like that. And I feel like it's like normal to do, but like being aware of the way you're framing them in your head is like so important because I feel like I know a lot of people who I feel like I've met people who have even done that to me in a weird way and I'm like, "Oh, I like I know that I do this to other people, so I can tell that you're doing this to me." And it's weird the way that we all just view each other almost as if we're our Instagram profiles sometimes, and then you have to like unwork and sometimes you don't even make the separation between those two things.
Yeah. Well, it's weird too how we just have the ability to make people not real in our heads and make people into celebrities, even if it's just people we know, and make it so
Yeah.
that the thing that they're doing is so unattainable and unachievable. Because I feel like I've seen people do that to you, and that's almost what's helped me kind of be like, oh, this is crazy. Because
That's a
people
weird thing to also think that someone does that to you, but I think everyone does it to someone.
Yeah, and I think yeah, but I feel like because people will ask about taking pictures or taking concert photography or whatever, as if it's like a really unattainable thing, which obviously it's really cool, but it's not like unattainable. You know what I mean? Like, and so I feel like that is a really interesting thing.
Well, whenever we don't know what something really is or how to get to it, I feel like it makes it bigger in our heads. And I've always like noticed that too, because before I took pictures for like really cool people, in my head a different thing than it was when I would watch other people do it. And it's just
Yeah,
interesting. The fact that we make
yeah.
people celebrities in our heads is really interesting because I also think like the topic of having favorite people to joke about within your friend group is like a thing I've seen online a lot before. I don't know if you've seen this where just like people being like, "Oh, like our favorite person to joke about just posted on Instagram like we're gonna like I can't wait to like talk about this later in the friend group." And, like,
Whoa,
stuff
I didn't
like
see
that,
that.
like which is funny because like, someone will post a normal Instagram story, and,
Yeah,
like, one of us will send it in our, like, Instagram group chat, and it's like, all of us know exactly what we mean by it and, like, why it's funny, but literally this person is just living their life, which is so
yeah,
scary that, like I don't know, it might be, like, a good thing because it's, like, nice to just laugh at the world and us just laughing at ourselves because like, we do the same thing. It goes back to the whole idea of people being mirrors. But it is very interesting how the idea of celebrity has, like, translated to our peers because of social
yeah.
media.
Yeah, and because of, like, knowing what everyone's doing at all times, and it's just so accessible, so if someone posts a picture, it's like, "Oh, we can just send that in our group chat and all look at this at the same time and all come to a conclusion about it," but, yeah, I also think that but I think that like, idea itself, obviously social media is newer, but just the idea of making people into characters almost has been around forever. Because like, how can it not be? Like, I feel like if you're human, then you're just gonna do that with people that you know,
Mhm.
and it comes, like, from context of knowing them, and yeah, and also it's like, I don't know, it's like, what do people talk about besides other people? Do you know what
No,
I
I
mean? Like,
sometimes
I'm
I
being
feel
so
like
genuine. Like, I think that, like, obviously not all the time, but, like, I feel like it's impossible to I I don't know. There's definitely people that don't talk about other people sometimes, but I don't know.
but I think if you are in a community, like, obviously that community is gonna be important to you, and it's the people in it
Yeah,
are
and,
just
like
significant.
and also just the way that, because a lot of the times when you're talking about people, it's not like you're talking about them in, like, a gossipy way. Sometimes you are, obviously, but sometimes you're talking about them in relation to you and in relation to something that they did that affected you in some way,
Or just what
and
their actions mean on, like, a
yeah,
human level.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like especially I've noticed a lot of people feel very weird about the fact that like when they see other people talking about people, but it's like such an I don't know. I think it's weird because it's like you wanna give energy to things that are important, obviously, and things that, like, actually matter to you. Um, but it's like, I don't know, in the same way that we talk about celebrities and it's just, like, fun to do because we all, like, it's all, like, important to us, like, I think the people in our everyday lives have become that for a reason because they are just, like, also important to us, and I do agree with what you're saying that that's definitely, like, been a thing forever, but I think the way that it's, like, popularized and normalized and then kind of analyzed, but I don't know if it's, like, that analyzed. But you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Just, like,
yeah,
talking about people and, like, that being, like, a thing online because I feel like also that's, like, been a thing that I've seen on TikTok and Twitter before.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I did see something on TikTok about that too, now that I'm thinking about it, about, like, someone just posting a TikTok with their friend and them saying how they, like, just came to the realization they were talking so much about this one person. Like, they talk about this one person every time that they meet up together, but this one person, like, literally probably never thinks about them, like, it's just someone who's in their life. And I also think it's an interesting thing with Thanksgiving being this week and everyone going back to their
Uh-huh.
hometowns and seeing, like, their friends from their hometowns or going out to bars and seeing all the people from high school. I think that that's a really funny thing because it's also just the idea of meeting up with your hometown friends and talking about people who you haven't seen in years and what they're up to, because I do that every time I go home, where I will, like, get lunch with my friends from home, and we'll talk about all these random people from high school and, like, what they're doing, and I feel like everyone does that to some
Mhm.
extent just because it's interesting with people that you grew up with, because it's like you grew up with those people. Like, you had, like, gym class with those people, and now they're getting married, or now they're doing this, whatever, you know? And, yeah, I, like, literally went through this rabbit hole the other day because I was stalking someone's Instagram that I went to high school with who was on the newspaper with me, and I found out that she, like, is doing insane stuff. She does, like, art design or art direction and production design for films that have been nominated for, like, the Cannes Film Festival, like,
Whoa.
literally doing insane stuff, and I was like, "This is crazy," because it's like I was just, like, on a paper with her, you know what I mean? And it's just weird to think about that, and it makes sense why we talk about people, especially when we just have this version of them in our heads that we know them as, and then we kind of see them evolve and develop into somebody new.
It's just, like, the possibilities of what could happen in someone's life, and it may not be what you would ever do, but then it's, like, just fascinating that someone else could live their life so differently in, like or, like, so similarly or, like, whatever, like, I don't know. I just think it's interesting because we just, like, love to compare ourselves because I think
Yeah.
everything is kind of in that vein or just in, like, this vein of, like, I don't know. I think we're all, like, secretly fascinated with humans as much as we do admit it or don't. I think we all think about it whether or not we verbalize it or not. Because how would you not, like, this is what's in front of you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I think that also ties into what we were gonna talk about with,
With
like
Wicked.
yeah, this actually connects perfectly to a
To
movie I just
Wicked.
saw. And this actually reminds me of the exact plot of Wicked. Holding space.
Holding space. That is lit I, like, it won't, like, it's everywhere.
Dude,
Like
it's,
it
like, driving me crazy. It's not even
yeah,
funny anymore. I'm
it's
like,
not funny
You know what? We
anymore.
had something? Guys, we
And
did
you
have
guys
something,
you
and you
ruined it.
fucking ruined it."
Literally, like it's like not funny anymore. It's everywhere and it's like, "Oh my god, we get it." And Ariana posted it on her story a
Did she
while ago.
actually?
She like posted like or she posted a snapshot of the interview where she was holding the finger. She posted that with like a crying emoji and a throw up emoji or something.
A throw up emoji. Oh, she was just like me. Oh my god. Ariana Grande uses the throw up emoji
I don't
too.
know if it was a throw up emoji. It might have just been the crying emoji. So
Okay, well, anyways, what I was gonna say is this actually reminds me exactly of Wicked. I don't really know. It
yeah.
did genuinely, but now I
Do
just
you think that something have you seen the conspiracy theories?
no, I'm scared. What is it?
You don't well, my trainer was talking to me about this today or when I went to the gym. Well, just like you know how the whole Wizard of Oz franchise, people are saying that it's like cursed because of the first
Don't know.
You don't know?
No. I
Dude, the Wizard of
all the
Oz
sounds in my room are getting louder
Ah!
just because you said you know about the conspiracy theory.
The Wizard of Oz movie has like an insanely dark aura around
Wait,
it
I
because
remember that as a
so many
kid.
bad things happened. Like Judy Garland is obviously the biggest one because her she like so much like she had to stop eating for the role. She got addicted to drugs. Like she died early. Her life is actually it's really, really sad. Like she yeah, it's really, really sad. But the other characters too, like the Wicked Witch of the West, the paint that they used, like made it had she had like some sort of reaction to it or something. The Tin Man also had to be hospitalized for his costume. The
That's
lion,
insane.
they used like real lion hair for his costume, and he was so hot in there he like couldn't breathe. The snow that they used was asbestos. Like there was like so much like fucked up shit that was happening. And so a lot of people are like, this movie always freaked me out. Even as a kid, it was kind of scary. It had this weird aura to it,
No, it
which is
freaked me out so
also
badly as a kid.
and people are like, it makes sense because of all the dark stuff that happened behind the scenes that we would catch on to that as kids and feel that energy, which is really
Yeah.
interesting. But it's also weird because I didn't watch it as a kid, and it's like I wonder
That's
if
so weird.
yeah, and I watched it and I loved it. I thought it was so, like, happy and everything, you know? Like, I was watching it and I was
Wake
the
up! Wake up! You're
I was
trapped in a
I was the
relationship.
happiest I've ever been in my life watching The Wizard of Oz with Cash, I'll say it.
Yeah,
And
exactly. And he's
and
brainwashing you. And he's
and
brainwashing you.
no,
I forgot like about that, but I used to have like so many nightmares about the movie and
that's
like
what people were saying.
so much like it just like stuck with me in a crazy way because like the whole like witch thing like really freaked me out. But yeah, it is weird because I was also gonna say, like, Wicked, we're talking about this thing and it's literally just like distracting us. And it's also literally just the thing where they spent so much money just on the marketing alone.
Yeah.
Like, I forget what the number was, but
It
I
was, like,
think it
more than the
said,
US military,
yeah,
right?
more than the US military, which is crazy because it's like you could like save people's lives with that money.
Yeah.
And
And
it's,
the one oh, sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the one TikTok of Kim Kardashian showing her house with the Wicked stuff was crazy. Like they like I don't even understand the purpose of it, but they completely redecorated her house or her private theater or whatever to show her and her kid like a screening of Wicked before it came out. But it was an insane thing. And yeah, the marketing for it is crazy. The press tour, like the fact that it's everywhere is really interesting and it's really insane. But also, I was gonna say with the conspiracy theories, because people were saying, like, just with how, like, before and afters of what Ariana and Cynthia looked like before Wicked versus now, like, just with them crying and like every single interview and like like all of it, they're like, people are like, this franchise is cursed, like something happened on that set, like da 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 da. And I think that that's like, it's just like crazy. But yeah, I forgot. I was gonna say something else that you said about the distraction thing. Um, but yeah, oh, I was gonna say also, it just reminds me of, and I know people were talking about this when everything was happening in Palestine with the Olympics happening at the same time. I think it was the Olympics, I don't know.
Mhm.
Or like the Oscars or something, but
I think it was the
yeah,
Oscars.
I think it was the
Yeah.
Oscars. When Suzanne Collins, like her the idea for the Hunger Games, do you know about this? she, like, got the idea for the Hunger Games because she was sitting on her couch flipping through TV channels, and on one channel would be, like, this, like, the Hollywood red carpet, all these really rich people living extravagant lives, and then on the next channel would be a newscast of, like, something horrible happening, of, like, children being bombed in another country, and she was like and that's the idea that was formed around, was the idea that, like, we're all watching these people die and suffer while we're living really extravagant lives, and that's how the whole idea for the Hunger Games came about, and that's also what the whole Wicked thing reminded me of, with you talking about how much they spent on marketing, because it
Mhm.
literally is just that in a way.
Yeah, and it's weird to think because especially for me because Ariana Grande is such like this like childhood thing for me of like this person feels like more real than and it's like okay, this is like a real person. And like obviously like everyone in the movie is a real person who's like
Yeah.
in it, but like that specifically itself is a weird thing of just, like, how it's framed in my head because I'm like, "Okay, Ariana Grande is a real person, she's a part of this thing, and is it her fault for being a part of it, or is it just, like, the reality of, like, Hollywood?" Because it's just how movies are, like, they have these huge budgets and stuff, and, like, I mean, the same thing, like, with the Barbie movie, like but also then,
Mhm.
like, these movies are, like, raising awareness in a way of these, like, issues and making them more, like, public, I think, to people who wouldn't normally be reached by issues of diversity, I guess, because I think, like, Wicked and, like, the Barbie movie, like, those being super, like, marketed to everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I had a lot of guys say to me about the Barbie movie who, like, I knew from high school who aren't in, like, queer communities being, like just, like, saying
That's
that it
really
did
interesting,
give them
yeah.
new ideas, and I'm like, "Well, that's crazy because it did actually do something, like, I'm seeing it, it's, like, doing something." And I'm sure
Well,
that Wicked is in the same, like, vein as that in a way.
that was, like, what people were saying about, because the monologue at the end of Barbie got, like, hate from people being like, "This is so dumb," because this is, like, obvious, you know what I mean? But that's the whole point, is that it's not obvious to some people, and some people, like, heard that and needed to hear that, you know?
Mhm.
But, yeah, I was gonna say too with Wicked, it also, like, it does make sense because like, all the hype around it and stuff. Carly Thorne did a video
Oh my
talking
god, I
about
DM'd
it.
her, I was like, "This
It
is
was
so
such a
good."
good video.
Yeah.
And she, like, was just explaining Wicked and explaining what's going on with everything. And it, like, does like, it makes sense why there's so much hype around it, because it is such an important musical for so many people. Like, it was the first real musical with 2 female leads. It was like, it was so impactful for people, and, like, that role meant a lot to all the people that auditioned for it, and obviously meant a lot to Ariana, which I'm sorry, but I also cannot see another clip of, like, Ariana singing Wicked songs before
Like,
she
when
was
she
cast
was,
for
like,
Wicked, or
5,
her
I
yeah,
know.
or her being like, "My dream is to be in Wicked, like, it's my dream role," like Elphaba Glindo, whatever, or the clip of Kristen Chenoweth on every single interview ever being like, "You know, when Ariana was 10 years old, she came backstage in my dressing room." I've seen that clip on, like, 5 different talk
Okay,
shows.
also that as a concept is so interesting because it's like ho Ariana's mom was
Yeah.
so, like,
Like, she went
able
backstage,
at
like, for
Wicked, like a
opening, like, oh, the
normal like,
original Wicked cast.
I
Original.
love Ariana Grande, but it's, like, crazy that the fact, like, she was able to do that, like, she wasn't famous, like, her mom just,
Yeah.
like, had that connection, which is crazy, like, I mean, I'm sure I don't know, maybe her mom I don't really know a lot about, like, how her mom like, I know she's just, like, a rich person who,
Yeah.
like, owns, like, a
A
business.
CEO. Isn't she, like, a CEO of something? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
which,
honestly have
like,
no idea.
maybe, like, she, like, totally worked for and earned too,
Yeah.
like,
She's a
but
sweetie, we love her. She
no,
also
she is
helped us with
sweet.
the free tickets.
Yes, no, the thing that Carly said about Cynthia being like, "Thank God it was Ariana because it, like,
Yeah.
wasn't the 2 girls I was auditioning with," and I'm like, "Oh my god, are you, like, a mean girl?" And it, like, made me sad because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god, you're being, like, mean to women." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, these poor girls, like, they probably just, like they probably didn't do anything wrong, or maybe they did, who
Oh.
knows?" Just made me sad because I was like, "Oh, like, I want everyone in Wicked, like, if that's the message behind Wicked, like, I feel like it makes me sad that it's not." Maybe she was just having a bad day. Carly, like, put it into words in a really good way where she was just like, "I feel like all the racism of the, like,
Yeah,
whole experience probably is getting to her and making her brain, like, crazy," because the whole thing of her getting mad at, like, a fan edit too, like,
yeah,
Cynthia has been, like, losing it a little bit, but I think it's,
yeah.
like it makes sense. She's, like, just a person and, like, carrying the weight of, like, all of this being, like, the face for Black women has to be, like, a really hard thing.
Yeah. No, and she definitely was facing a lot of racism when she got cast. Like, it makes sense. Like, it definitely, it's kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, yeah, Carly put it in really good words, but how it probably was all of that. And then that was kind of just made her explode. But yeah, but yeah, like speaking about like obviously I think Ariana like deserved the role and she was like actually so good in it. Cause that was the other thing I was gonna say was that both her and Cynthia, it's crazy because I know you also had this too of like being afraid that you wouldn't unsee her as
Yeah,
Ariana.
I was so scared of that,
Yeah.
especially having, like, watched her for so long online. I was like, I feel like and seeing her acting in other places.
Yeah.
I, like, never was super convinced by it, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah, and then, like, also with the whole press tour and them acting the way that they've been acting in the press tours, like, I was afraid that I was gonna see Wicked,
Crazy.
and I would, like, only see that. What you were saying about the whole message of Wicked and, like, what it represents and stuff. I saw this one tweet being like, "I feel like Ariana and Cynthia are never gonna talk again after Wicked is done,"
Oh my
and I thought
god.
that was so funny.
I saw one tweet where, it was quoting and I thought it was really funny. It was quoting, um the announcement of being like, "Ariana Grande and Cynthia just got" what is Cynthia's last name? I don't
Uh,
know. Like, Ariana and Cynthia just got cast in the movie adaptation of Wicked, and then someone quoted it and was like, "Does anyone know if this is still happening?" Which I thought was funny.
Yeah,
But
yeah, they are really milking it.
crazy how a lot of things in the movie were, like, modernized. Like, I was
Yeah,
thinking about that and I wanted to bring it up because it's just funny how, like, the humor in it was kind of modernized in a way, or maybe
yeah.
it's just because it's Ariana Grande saying it that
No,
it
it
feels
definitely
modern.
was, like, the slang, like, a little bit
Well, them
too.
being like, "I don't see color."
Yeah, yeah.
Which, like, I think is, like, nice to, like, reference, like, current stuff because it's, like, very relevant, but yeah, it was just funny.
No, I did like that it wasn't an exact like, obviously, it was an adaptation, so it wasn't gonna be exact, but I do think that they did a really good job with adapting it to a movie format, and, like, even the things that each of the characters changed, I feel like were changed for the better.
I wanna talk about meeting them.
Yeah.
But I also thought this was interesting because it kind of ties in with the question of, are they good people? Because especially because they're celebrities, because like we've talked about in other episodes, like, can you be a celebrity and be a good person? And I think about that a lot. And I also think about that so much in terms of Ariana Grande and her family and stuff because I grew up with them like so much and like had such a parasocial relationship with them. And like in my head, like I needed them to be good people so
Yeah.
badly. And it's like nice that they could at least represent that, even like regardless of what the reality is. But yeah, basically, the Grandes were in Bucks County, because Frankie Grande was a part of the Rocky Horror production at the Bucks County
Bucks County
Playhouse in
Playhouse,
New
yeah.
Hope, which is so weird, and I thought it was so weird because this also happened last year, but it's just so weird that she's like, "That's my, like, near my hometown," like,
Yeah.
I'm from Bucks County, so growing up with this, like, crazy out of reach, like, celebrity and then she's just in my town is really weird, but, like, New Hope there are, like, weirdly a lot of celebrities who live there, like, Zayn Malik lives there, with,
Yeah.
Gigi Hadid?
Well, they're not together anymore, but
Oh, well, they
right?
used to
They
or
used to live
something.
there.
Like, M Marielle, our friend, told us one time she thinks she saw Harry Styles, like, jogging, which is, like,
Yeah.
crazy because to us, it's like, this is, like, a place we live, and it doesn't seem like it's attached
It's
to
not
that,
like a
but it's
big
like
city or anything. My friend
yeah.
saw or she, like, saw Gigi and Zayn's plane fly into the airport, like, the local airport.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think it's crazy because you realize as you grow up and get older that all these things are in the same universe, even as
Yeah.
much as they don't feel like it. I
They
never
were
wrote
in the
about
ice
that.
cream shop
They were
that
in the
we
ice cream
the ice
shop.
cream shop, and I used to go to the ice cream shop with my mom all the time.
Yeah, it's just weird, I
That's
think, as
weird.
people who, like, frequented New Hope. But
Yes.
anyways, when I my friend had met her last year, like, at the grocery store, so we were like, "Okay, let's go and try and meet her," and I thought it'd be, like, a really interesting thing going and doing something and, like, comparing the experience and stuff, so I wanted to compare the experience to, like, me waiting for her and trying to meet celebrities at hotels and stuff when I was younger from, like, a mature perspective. If you wanna read it, go read it. It's on Pace Magazine. But, just in general, like, it was really interesting because I ended up talking to Joan outside, and I was talking to her about stan culture, and it was just weird to talk to her because I'm like, I don't know, I feel like when I talk to people like that, I'm trying to gauge, like, are you, like, cognizant? Because you
Yeah.
seem so not in reality. I mean, to live a life like that is something, like, I could never comprehend, like,
Yeah.
just because it's so insane, but then also, it's weird because I guess it's just a human life, but with, like, a lot of money, and
Yeah.
a lot of connections that seem otherworldly, but, yeah, it was interesting. I was just talking to her about, like, stan culture, and I, like, couldn't really tell if she, could, like, see me, if that makes sense. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it was also,
Yeah.
like, very nice because it was just like, "Oh, these people I've idolized forever," and I think from doing a lot of interviews and stuff, like, the whole facade around celebrity has kind of fallen for me.
Mhm.
So it was just, "Oh, I'm just talking to this person," and then it's like I feel like in any like, thing where there's, like, kind of an imbalance of, like, power, and obviously, again, I, like, grew up loving them. It's just like, "Oh, so, like, I can't tell if you're, like, considering me as a person or not almost within the conversation." I don't know. And there's just, like, a lot that comes up about it, and it's really interesting. And, sorry, I've been talking for a long time. Do you wanna add any
No,
I
it's
know.
okay. I was like, yeah, I was just gonna kind of talk about the day too, because it was like a weird like day, because it was a whole thing, our whole day experience, because we just were spending the day in New Hope, like seeing if we would find her. And there were just so many weird moments and like weird forces that pulled us to be like at that playhouse and at the play, like at the exact moment where they were gonna walk in. Just through, like, walking into random stores and talking to people, and then it was, like, literally, like, each person we talked to or each thing that we did, like, led us
It was really
to
weird.
them in a really weird way, even, like, the spot where we parked the car, because we parked the car kind of far, and then we were gonna move it, but then we didn't, and
Oh
then
my
it
god,
ended
that's
up
so
being, like, right across from the ice cream shop that they went into at the very end of the night. They basically were, like, not meeting any fans. It was Ari or it was yeah, it was Ariana, Liz, Ethan, and Michael,
yeah.
who's,
And
like,
also, like,
Liz's
Joan and Frankie and Hale.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they were, like, not meeting any fans, and so it was really weird because, yeah, it was like they were so close, but they were so far, and I think, like, just seeing a glimpse of them, like, seeing Ariana and Liz together was crazy because
No, it's so
that
weird, especially, like, us 2 being there
yeah,
together and seeing that.
yeah, because like, we, like, both, like, love them so much, and I love Liz, and I think that, like, her and Ariana's friendship is really sweet, and so seeing them together was crazy, and just the fact that they look like that, it's like, how are you real?
Also, in a weird way, it's like, "Oh, you're just, like, there."
Yeah. No, and
Like
it, like, felt this is gonna sound fucking crazy, but it, like, felt when they walked in that we, like, knew them.
Okay, so the context to that, I think, makes sense because we spent the day there and we were like, "Okay, you know what? We're just gonna, like, wait until the show starts to see if Ariana ends up going inside, or, like, ends up, like, meeting fans afterwards." So we weren't even gonna see the show, but we both wanted to really badly, and we were talking about it, we were contemplating buying tickets. We went inside the Playhouse and we were like, "Let's just sit here and, like, talk to people for no
Yeah,
reason."
we talked to, like, a bunch of which also there's, like, a lot of old people that go to see Rocky Horror, which makes sense because it's
It's
Bucks
really
County
sweet.
Playhouse, but it, like, yeah, it was just, like, a bunch of old people, and we were sitting on the bench talking to them, and it was sweet. The one was like, "What do you do?" And we were like, "We have a podcast."
And it was weird because it was right before the Liam thing happened also,
No, and
and
we
I
told
went out
this guy outside that he looks like Liam Payne, and
and
he
he
was like
probably thinks we're witches now because
yeah,
literally, like, the day after that,
the
Liam
thing
died,
happened.
and I, like, literally told this man that he looked like Liam Payne, and he
Yeah.
was like, I don't know,
I
like,
don't know
weird
who
about
that
it.
is.
He was, like,
He was like,
scary.
"I don't know who that is." You know they want to be like, "That's gay," you know?
Yeah.
Like, outside, and we saw Joan, and that's when we went up to Bill and was talking to them about everything, and we were just making jokes about because he was like, "Oh, you were here yesterday," to you.
Mm. And
Like,
do you want me to take it from here?
yeah, yeah. Well, I thought because I want, yeah.
Here, it's like this.
Say your part. Say your
Wait,
part.
can you throw it to me,
No,
please?
no.
Okay. Oh, I just caught it.
Can you say your fucking part? I have to go in 15 minutes.
So yeah, it's weird because we went up to like the will call booth and we were like, because we were talking to like these old people and they were like, well, you should just ask if there's like cheaper tickets day of. And I was like, yeah, I don't think there are, but like we'll try and ask. So then,
Or if there's like empty seats, if they just need someone to fill them. Because they were empty seats. We checked on the map.
yeah, and we went up to the will call booth and we were like, do you have like cheaper tickets? And they were like, no, you can buy some. And we were like, well, what if the seats don't get bought? Then do you want to fill them with two sweet little girls? And then she was like, no, they stay empty. And then we were
And we
like,
were
oh,
like, oh.
we were like, gulp. And then we left.
And then I
And
was
as we
like,
walked out,
well, I
Joan
was
walked in.
like,
What?
don't pick her
Hi.
up. Don't pick her up.
She cried. So we walk out the exact moment that Joan walks in, and we're just like, oh hey, because I had already talked to her. We're like gonna see if anyone outside had like an extra ticket or something, I think.
Hmm.
And then we were like, let's just go talk to Hale for no reason. Let's go ask to pet his dog.
Yeah.
Because his dog is so cute.
It's so
And it was really sweet because he just fucking carries that dog everywhere. And like
everywhere.
obviously like a trained dog, but it's just so cute because he just like sits in his arms and it's really sweet. And um like
Also, this is like off topic, but I just want to say before I forget, like the fact that him and Joan go to every one of Frankie's shows is also like a crazy thing because that's so sweet. Like I like
literally just rewatching the same
yeah,
show over and over. Like
over and over again. Like who do you know that would do that? Like I don't feel like I know any parents that would do that. Like every night. Like that's like
I feel like my mom would do that. Maybe.
yeah.
Like would we do that to each other? I think I
No.
would. I would.
Really? You would come
Yeah.
to everyone?
Yes.
Wait, I would come to every one of yours.
Because I feel like they have to like it. Just like have someone like get to like perform and then people come up to them after and be like, this was so awesome. Like
Yeah.
this is like how it like touched me. And I can't imagine getting tired of that. But like also I can see like how they would get tired of it. Yeah. So then we go up to Hale and then he's like, yeah, you like, he was like, you're back again. Like, did you like the show? And then I was like, I haven't seen it yet. And
And
then
we're
he was
not
like,
seeing it tonight.
and we're not seeing it tonight. And then he was like, wait, so then why? And then I was like, and then he was like, you're here to meet Frankie? And then I was like, yes. Even though I was like kind of actually there to write an article.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, you know, like we were also there to just like meet them and like see what that
And just
experience
have
was
a fun
like.
day.
And then we were like joking and like explaining what happened at the will call booth.
And
And
explaining how we were broke, basically.
and he was like, why don't like he like basically was like, oh, like I think there's like open tickets, and then we were like, yeah, they're just like expensive.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, and then I think he maybe felt bad. And
Yeah.
then like he was like, yeah, and then he just kind of like laughed at our jokes, and then he like went inside and then came back out and then gave us tickets, and it was really sweet.
And it was
And he was like,
Frankie's
say,
comp tickets.
yeah, it was Frankie's like comp tickets, and he was like, say thank you to Joan too. And it was like really sweet. And we were like, oh. And it was like this whole moment for me of being like, oh, maybe they are as like great as I wanted them to be. Or at least like
Yeah.
in some way, like it was just like a really nice thing. Like they didn't have to do that, obviously. And
Yeah.
it probably to them like isn't a big deal, but we both just were like, that's so nice.
Did that, and then we went and we were watching the show, and we're like sitting there talking to the girl next to us. I think Ari's gonna be here because they checked my bag and they did not check my bag like last time I came. Like they were rifling through my bag this time. As she was speaking, you started like freaking out and you were like, wait, like they're here.
My
Yeah.
eyes widened. Ariana and Liz, when you're like not expecting like Liz to be there too, is just like
Yeah.
otherworldly because it's like
Yeah.
Like,
It
I
was
watched
her
these
whole
people on my
crew.
TV. I watched these people do live streams growing up, and
It
it's
was
like,
her
no,
whole
they're just
crew.
friends,
They're
not like a weird
besties.
thing, but
They were, like, on a double date, which is really weird to think about. Well, this is the thing, is because everyone was saying how Ariana, like, always meets fans, like, that's what she's known for is, like, always meeting fans, and she did not meet anyone that night, like, it was literally crazy, like, they came in past doors, and then as soon as the show ended, they, like, ran out of there and went to the van and, like, immediately left and then waited, like, somewhere else for Frankie and then went to an ice cream shop, and we like, we're parked across from the ice cream shop, so we went there and I, like, saw this car and I was like, Brittany, that's the same car." Like, the security was like, "Hey, she just, like, doesn't want any pictures tonight, like, can you guys just respect that?" Because we were just, like, waiting in our car, like, not doing anything, but just, like, sitting there, just, like, trying to see.
it
And
was, like, also crazy because he was like, "You know that, like, normally she'll, like, take pictures."
yeah,
I also
because
just,
he's
like,
very
didn't
shy.
honestly, didn't care that much
Me
anymore, like, it
neither.
was just, like, a fun day, and, like, it didn't
Yeah.
really feel necessary to talk to her and try and tell her something that she'll probably just, like, forget, you know what I
Well,
mean?
it felt
I
like the
don't
day was
know.
complete, like, especially with us seeing the show, like, I feel like that was kind of what we needed. But I thought it was funny because I thought that, like I was thinking and I was like, "Okay, well, what's the difference between this year when she isn't meeting fans versus last year when she was meeting fans?" And it seems like it's someone in a yellow suit.
Oh my god. Well, people say she doesn't like to meet people with Ethan because
Yeah,
of, like, all the weird backlash,
it's like
but
brainwashing
also
her.
it's true, and boys, they put you in handcuffs.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to say.
Boyfriends put you in handcuffs.
Yeah.
After having done that all the time as a kid, and I talk about it, like, way more in depth and, like, in better words, I feel like, because I just have already said things about it, so it's weird to, like, try to say the things again about it again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I, like, wrote a thing about it, but it is just weird because also I feel like I'm in a different place with that kind of stuff where I've more unworked the idea of celebrity, so even, like, parts of like, when we were, like, waiting in the car, it kinda just felt like, "Why are we waiting?" Like, "Let's just
Yeah.
go."
No,
And,
I get that.
there's a part of it where it's really nice to love someone that much and just have that much joy behind something, and, like, attach so much of your, like, childhood to something, but it's also just, like, nice to see the way that changes and also just, like, the way you humanize those people and also humanize yourself. I feel like I've done a, like, better job in, like, us just, like, talking about celebrity culture so much of changing how I feel about those things. Not that I, like, because obviously I thought it was, like, cool enough to, like, wanna talk about it and, like, write about it and stuff, but it's
Mhm.
still this thing of, like, "Oh, like, they're not actually above me."
Yeah. Well, I think it's, like, more so it also just reminded me the thing I took away from it was that it's more so, like, the community aspect of it versus the celebrity itself, because waiting outside and, like, talking to everybody else who was waiting for her and conspiring about, "Oh my god, is that car hers?" Like, is that, like, talking to the valet guy being like, "Oh, yeah, like, I think that she's coming back." Like, like, all that stuff, like, that was so fun, and I feel like that
It, like, makes
is
it so easy to talk to people too.
yeah, and that's what I mean, like, I feel like that's the part of it that's really exciting more so than even, like, actually meeting them or not.
Even though
Uh,
that obviously it's, like, exciting, like, I don't
like,
know.
I don't know, that feeling gave me, like, butterflies, like, just, like, talking to everyone about it and, like, conspiring about it, and also,
I think also just having, like, a real conversation with, like, Joan and, like, Hale was, like,
yeah.
nice. I really, really like just understanding how someone's brain works. So I feel like through those conversations, I almost was looking for that because I'm like, I'm curious about you, you
Yeah,
know? And even though you can't see it, I think everyone's just even.
yeah, and I feel like I also was, like, fine with not meeting them because I just felt like it wasn't the right time. And I was like, because I, like, knew I don't know, I got this feeling where I was like, "I, like, know that we're gonna meet them
I,
eventually." Do you know
I
what I
like had
mean?
that too.
Yeah, so I was like, "This is fine."
Obviously, like, also, I don't wanna make it sound like I, like, completely don't care, because like, I'm just, like, explaining,
Yeah.
like, the unworking of, like, the parasocial aspect of it, but
Yeah.
obviously, like, Like,
Yeah.
it is still, I think, a dream of mine to have a conversation with someone who impacted me that much, like like Ariana Grande, but I feel like I'd wanna have an actual real conversation,
Yeah.
and I don't think that's, like, out of reach, like, I think that, like, literally anything could happen ever. I think
Yeah.
it would be so cool. Like, she's, like, my dream person to interview, I think. Just talking about, like, the time that she was on Twitter and
Yeah.
interacting the way she was, like, I'd love to hear what her experience of that was, and also just, like, what her actual life looked like, 'cause, like, I'm just so curious about that with, like, mainstream celebrity, what, like, that life truly looks like. Because I feel like interviewers, like, don't really ask that. Like, there's these, like, stereotypical ways of talking about that and it being this thing that's kind of detached from reality, but I think it would be really, really helpful for people as fans to hear that kind of thing.
Can we interview her and Liz together?
Oh yes, I need that. Dude,
Zach Sang is gonna do that before us.
oh, and I'll kill him.
We should get Zach Sang on here.
Dude, and Zach saying is a freak. That's the thing, and it's like,
No, he's best friends with them.
yeah, but isn't he a freak? Like, isn't there, like, weird stuff about him? Like, I saw, like, on Twitter?
There is. Well,
Like,
Artie's
him
like best
being
friends with him.
see, that's what makes me question, it's like,
They all grew up together.
no.
Yep. Yeah, they talk about it all the
Not
fucking time.
again. People have to stop growing up with Ariana.
Okay, so I gotta go.
Okay, well,
Um,
why don't you ask Josh then?
you ask Josh.
You ask
I
Josh.
asked him last time. Bitch.
Josh.
Bitch.
Josh, I just feel like I'm tethered to you. Can you come on the podcast?
Ew.
Your turn. Let me just
I'm
show.
taking off my mic.
Hold on. She's pissed. And she knows that in her future,
Not in her future.
he's giving her sweet kisses and letting her into the room at night. Yeah.
Ew.
Feeding her too.